Hey, my people. So something historic is happening in Africa right now that deserves our full attention. Across the continent, leaders are taking bold steps to reclaim control over their natural wealth. They're saying, no more. No more exporting raw resources for pennies, only to buy them back later as billion-dollar finished product. From Zimbabwe banning raw lithium exports, to Namibia restricting rare earth shipments, to the DRC renegotiating cobalt contracts with China, Africa is entering a new era, resource nationalism. And it's not just minerals. For products like raw shea, governments are flat out banning exports. In others, like cocoa, policies are shifting to encourage more local processing and refining. The message is simple, but revolutionary. If you want Africa's resources, you add value here. You build factories here. You create jobs here. And you pay fair prices here. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen such a movement, okay? In the 1960s and 70s, after independence, leaders like Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana and Julius Nyerere of Tanzania pushed for Africa to take control of its minerals. Countries like Zambia nationalized their copper mines. Nigeria tightened control of its oil. And the idea of the United States of Africa included a bold minerals strategy. But history wasn't kind. Commodity price crashes, foreign pressure, and weak governance left many of those dreams unfulfilled. Instead of prosperity, many countries fell deeper into debt, and resource nationalism became a cautionary tale. But today feels different. And why? Because the world has changed significantly. The global green energy transition, from electric cars to solar panels to batteries, depends on Africa's cobalt, lithium, manganese, and platinum. Without Africa, there is no clean energy future. And that gives the continent unprecedented leverage. It's bold, it's risky, but it could transform Africa's economic future forever. So today, we're breaking down how this new resource revolution could finally deliver prosperity to ordinary Africans, and how both domestic and foreign investors can play a role in advancing this new path, not by exploiting Africa's wealth as in the past, but by making strategic investments that support local processing, skills transfer, and infrastructure, the very things that will drive Africa's development forward. Because, hey, when done right, this is not just Africa's win. It's a win for investors and the global community too. A future where Africa grows stronger, and those who bet on Africa share in that growth. Because, my people, prosperity shared can be prosperity multiplied. And we'll also ask the hard question: how do we make sure this new wave doesn't collapse under the weight of poor planning, corruption, or foreign pushback? It's going to be a good one. But before we break it down, please do me a favor and subscribe to our channel and tap the notification bell for alerts. And if you enjoy this video in particular, be sure to like it, share it, drop a comment to let me know what you think, a super thanks to support our work, or join our membership community for more exclusive. Also, we are hosting our annual conference and awards gala in New York City this November, the BlackStars Experience. Yes, and I'd love for you to join us there. Hey there! Before we continue with the episode, I want you to quickly pause. Visit BlackStarsExperience.com and sign up for our upcoming conference in New York City this November. This is where leaders, allies, and change makers are coming together to open doors, share opportunities, and push the culture and the community forward. From our eye-opening discussions, expert-led sessions, to a career expo and networking opportunities, if you're serious about your career, your business, your future, you must be in the room. Because this is more than an event. This is a movement. It's about creating pathways for all of us to rise together. November 13th and 14th, New York City. Hey, don't just hear about it later. Be there. Secure your seat at the BlackStars Experience. because your future deserves it. All right, now let's get back to the episode.
As the second largest continent, Africa is home to 30% of the world's mineral reserves. It holds 40% of the world's gold and at least 90% of its chromium and platinum. It also has the largest reserves of cobalt, platinum, uranium, and diamonds. With the global demand for batteries rising and the search for new sources of energy, the world is reliant on minerals from African countries. But many African leaders are looking to reclaim control of the continent's resources.
We need to process our lithium and get value.
So before we talk about what this revolution could mean, first, let's set the stage. Resource nationalism isn't just an idea. It's already happening across Africa. Leaders are rolling out new laws, bans, and renegotiations that are changing the way business is done. Take Zimbabwe. In 2022, it banned the export of raw lithium, one of the most critical minerals for electric vehicle batteries. The government said billions of dollars were being lost because companies would simply ship out the ore and process it elsewhere. Now, if you want lithium from Zimbabwe, you must build processing plants inside the country. Investors who move quickly to set up refining facilities stand to gain because the demand for lithium is only going up. Hey, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy it, I want to invite you to join our family here at PanaGenius TV and be a part of conversations that are shaping the future. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for alerts. And if you want to support our work and help us reach more people, you can drop a super thanks on this video or join our growing membership community. Thank you so much for your support. Let's get back to the show. Namibia has followed a similar path. In 2023, it restricted exports of unprocessed lithium and rare earth elements, which are vital for renewable energy and high-tech manufacturing. Instead, Namibia is inviting partners to invest in local value addition. This opens opportunities for joint ventures in refining, training programs, and industrial parks that benefit both the country as well as investors. Then there's the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yes, the DRC supplies over 70% of the world's cobalt. And for years, foreign companies dominated the industry, especially Chinese firms. But in 2023, the government pushed to renegotiate its massive $6 billion minerals for infrastructure deal with China, demanding a larger share of profits and more transparent project delivery. It has also launched a state-backed company to organize artisanal cobalt miners, aiming to formalize a sector that has been chaotic and dangerous. For responsible investors, this creates a chance to enter the market with better standards and stronger long-term returns. And it's not just minerals. Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, which together produce over 60% of the world's cocoa, are moving away from being price takers. They introduced a $400 per ton living income differential to give farmers a fairer share of profits. They're also encouraging more local processing of cocoa into chocolate and other products, meaning there is space for investors in agro-processing, packaging, as well as distribution. In West Africa, countries are taking a tougher stance on raw shea exports, which are often shipped unprocessed to Europe for the cosmetic industry. By restricting raw exports, governments want investors to build processing plants locally, creating jobs and boosting women-led cooperatives that dominate the shea sector. But perhaps the boldest moves right now are coming from the alliance of Sahel states, Mali, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. These three countries, all led by new military-backed governments, have declared that their natural resources are not up for exploitation under the old colonial model. Guinea, home to the world's largest bauxite reserves, has forced companies to commit to building local refineries. Mali has passed laws giving the state a greater share in mining projects, while pushing for more gold refining domestically. And Burkina Faso is rewriting mining codes to ensure higher state revenues and community benefits. And together, through the AES bloc, they are openly exploring a common resource strategy, even discussing the creation of their own joint mining company and a regional bank to finance resource-driven development. This shows that resource nationalism is no longer just individual countries acting alone. It's beginning to take on a regional form where states band together to protect their wealth and demand fairer terms. And here's the key. While some foreign companies see this as a threat, others will see an opportunity. Countries are not saying no to investment. They're saying invest differently. Build industries here, transfer skills here, and share in the long-term growth of our economies. That's where the win-win lies. Investors who align with Africa's new priorities, industrial parks, energy infrastructure, training centers, processing plants, can profit handsomely while also supporting the continent's rise. This is in the Africa of the 1970s. Leaders know that they need capital and technology, but they're making it clear that if you want in, you must help us grow too. And honestly, it's long overdue.
In Zimbabwe, there are more than 80 state-owned Chinese enterprises, which have amassed a total of $10.4 billion in investments and contracts in the country from 2005 to 2020. Meanwhile, the U.S. has fallen behind, and relations with the nation have been shaky.
I think they've already taken Africa for granted for so long. And I think now is the time to say, maybe it's time to wake up.
So what does this new wave of resource nationalism mean in practice? Well, let's look at the promise and the peril. One, industrialization and jobs, which I've talked a lot about on this show. For decades, Africa exported raw materials and imported finished goods, losing out on the real value. By demanding local processing, countries are forcing a shift. Imagine cobalt being refined in the DRC, lithium batteries being assembled in Zimbabwe, or cocoa being turned into some of the finest chocolate brands in Ghana. This creates jobs, it builds factories, and it develops skills that ripple across the economy. For investors, this is a chance to set up your joint ventures, industrial parks, and value addition plans where demand is guaranteed, and governments are offering incentives. 2, revenue and tax base. Exporting raw ore generates small royalties, but hosting smelters, refineries, and factories means corporate taxes, export tariffs on finished goods, and stronger government revenues. That money can fund schools, roads, and healthcare. For investors, more stable governments with stronger revenues means lower political risk and a better operating environment in the long run. And then you have leverage in a multipolar world, with the US, China, EU, India, and even Russia all competing for Africa's minerals. African states have bargaining power they've never had before. They can demand better terms, bigger stakes, and infrastructure commitments. But let's be honest, with every big opportunity comes serious risks. And in Africa's case, those risks are just as real as the rewards. Let's look at some of them. 1, investor flight. Some companies may simply walk away if policies feel too restrictive, right? For example, Zimbabwe's lithium ban initially caused panic among smaller operators. If governments move too fast without infrastructure in place, they risk stalling production. And then infrastructure gaps, which is a big one, because processing minerals isn't cheap. It requires reliable electricity, transport networks, and skilled labor. Without those, policies may look good on paper, but fail in practice. Zimbabwe doesn't yet have the capacity to process all its lithium. Guinea still struggles with bauxite refineries. And then governance and elite capture. history teaches us to be cautious. Nationalizations in the 1970s were meant to empower citizens, but often wealth got stuck at the top. If corruption or mismanagement takes hold, ordinary Africans may not see the benefits, and investors will face instability. And then you also have smuggling and black markets. When raw exports are banned, smugglers often find a way around the system. In Nigeria's oil sector, billions are lost annually to theft. If new policies aren't enforced with strong institutions, Africa could very well lose both revenue and credibility. So here's the truth. Resource nationalism is a double-edged sword. Done right, it's Africa's chance to industrialize, build jobs, and capture more value. But done wrong, it could scare away capital, stall industries, and repeat the mistakes of the past. And that's why strategic investors matter. Those who align with Africa's development goals, funding power plants, building smelters, setting up training institutes, they won't just survive in this new environment, they'll thrive. Because this new resource nationalism isn't about shutting investors out. It's about changing the terms of the deal. So here's the big question, my people. If Africa gets this right, what does the future look like? Well, just imagine this. Battery factories in Zimbabwe turning raw lithium into the engines of the global EV revolution. Cobalt refineries in the DRC, supplying not just ore, but finished materials ready for Tesla, Apple, and every car maker in the world. Rare earth processing in Namibia, feeding the clean energy and defense industries. Aluminum smelters in Guinea, powering global construction and tech. And in West Africa, cocoa and shea, transformed into finished consumer products. Think chocolate, cosmetics, and oils produced on African soil, creating thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs. This is the vision. Africa finally capturing the real value of its resources instead of giving it away.
Whoever comes to invest in the country must be told that, number one, you have come to Zimbabwe, respect the Zimbabwean people.
Now, here's where investors fit in. If you're a global company, you could keep doing business the old way. Extract, export, and resist change. But you'd be on the wrong side of history, my people. Or you can lean into this new reality and become a partner, a real partner in Africa's transformation. Build local processing plants instead of shipping raw ore. Invest in training programs and vocational schools that build Africa's skilled workforce. Partner with governments on infrastructure projects, power plants, railroads, ports, that not only serve your industry, but also unlock wider economic growth. From joint ventures that give African states real stakes in the value chain, ensuring political stability and long-term contracts. And here's something important. African governments are not blind to investor concerns. Many are actively working to create more business-friendly environments, streamlining regulations, offering tax incentives for industrial investment, and building special economic zones to make it easier to operate. So, if you're an investor looking at Africa right now, don't be afraid to reach out. This is not a closed door. It's an invitation. But it's an invitation with new terms. Profit, yes, and potentially even more profit, but profit that goes hand in hand with Africa's development. Because here's the truth. Resource nationalism is not anti-investor. It's anti-exploitation. There's a difference. It's a demand for a fairer deal. And if investors embrace this shift instead of fighting it, they won't just survive, they'll thrive. Because the companies that align with Africa's priorities today will be the ones holding the most valuable contracts tomorrow. That's right. Now imagine this going even one step further. What if this wave isn't just national, but regional? Imagine the African Union or the African Continental Free Trade Area coordinating resource policies, a minerals version of OPEC, where Africa collectively sets terms, stabilizes prices, and ensures value addition happens on the continent. That's where the real transformation lies. Not just individual countries saying no, but Africa as a whole saying, we set the rules now, and here they are. If that happens, Africa won't just be a supplier of raw materials. It will be a global hub for green energy, technology, and industrial production.
There are two narratives. The political narrative that mining is the savior of the economy, and then the grassroots narrative which says mining is undermining our livelihoods. And we sit in between. We want to see mining contribute to the economy, but not at the expense of the Zimbabwean people.
So my people, where do we go from here? Well, as I've been saying, Africa stands at a crossroads, a real turning point. For too long, we've been rich in resources but poor in results. The wealth of our soil has fueled other nations' prosperity while leaving our own people behind. Enough is enough. This wave of resource nationalism is a bold attempt to flip that script, to turn natural wealth into real industries, into jobs and sovereignty. It is Africa saying that we are no longer just a pit to dig from. We are partners, builders, and producers in our own right. But let's be clear, boldness alone wouldn't deliver results, right? It will take infrastructure, skills, good governance, and yes, strategic investment. Now, not the kind of investment that extracts and runs, but the kind that builds, shares knowledge, and grows together. Because if Africa gets this right, the benefits won't just stay here. A stronger Africa means stronger supply chains, new markets, and shared prosperity for those who had the vision to bet on this continent. So today I want to leave you with this, and I also want to hear from you. Have you thought about investing in Africa? What challenges have you faced? And what would make it easier for you to bet on the continent? Let me know in the comments and let's have this conversation together. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to our channel to help amplify our voice. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Sandra Babu-Boateng, and until next time, take care.